they've been gunning for you. The last flap was about gender, was it not? Was it about math and girls or something to that effect? Like, refresh my memory, but I remember there being
Yeah.
something.
So I was answering some questions at what's called the select committee, and they were wondering why it is that girls across the country do not tend to take STEM subjects. So that's physics, chemistry, biology, and math. And they want to know why was it that they're not doing it. And I spent about 20 minutes talking about the cultural issues around that, that you want to change in your school and in society generally, so that girls can see themselves more in those kinds of subjects. Um, they then asked me about my own school because I said that while we have lots of girls doing biology and chemistry, we don't have as many doing physics. Um, and they wanted to know why. Now, I feel that we have controlled for those cultural issues. One, we've got really excellent teaching, we've got really excellent behavior. And my point to them was that when you do not have excellent teaching and behavior, your vulnerable groups on the edges are the ones that suffer the most. So your vulnerable groups might be your poorer kids, it might be your Black kids, it might be your girls when it comes to choosing science. It could be any number of people in the vulnerable groups. And they are the ones who end up suffering because you're ending up spending all your time trying to deal with the behavior issues. Your teaching isn't as good. And then those vulnerable kids don't end up achieving as much as you would like them to achieve. Or they're not able to make the choices of what they would really like to do because they're influenced too much by other things from the outside. Anyway, I made the point that, you know, our school, I feel we have addressed those cultural issues. One, because we have great teaching, great behavior, but also my entire physics department is female. All the teachers are female who teach them. So the role models are there. We also have people who come in and talk to the children about their various different careers, both men and women. So we have addressed those cultural issues, and yet my girls still haven't chosen in huge numbers to do physics. Now, we are talking about a class of 6 children, right, at 17 years old. There are 5 boys and 1 girl. And what everyone is up and outraged about is that there are not 3 girls and 3 boys. So what they prefer is for me to remove a couple of the boys and put in a couple of the girls. That's what they want. And I'm saying,
Irrespective of what the girls want.
this is it. I'm saying that once you've addressed all those cultural issues, if the girls don't want to do the maths and the physics, which I suspect is the case because that's the case why all kids, boys and girls, tend not to want to choose physics. It's also the case that a lot of our girls want to go into medicine, and doing physics would be wrong. They need to do biology and chemistry. So we've got 26 girls doing biology and 12 boys. So obviously there are huge numbers of girls wanting to go that way. I believe that it is the case that on average, women tend to be more empathetic, men tend to be more systematic. That doesn't mean that there aren't some brilliant women scientists and brilliant women mathematicians. Of course, that it doesn't mean that. I've got those women here in my school teaching my kids. So I'm not saying they don't exist, but on average, women prefer people, men prefer things. This is just a preference. And when my girls then choose to go down the route of trying to become a doctor instead of going down the route of maths or physics, I I back them on that. Like, I don't see why I wouldn't back them on that. But because of this obsession with quotas and having 50% girls, 50% boys in all the
Yeah.
subjects, there is an anger around that about how dare we not be pushing for 50%. I mean, not only that, the other thing to say is the reason why there are so many boys who tend to do physics and maths everywhere, not just here, is
Right.
that when they take their exams at GCSE at 16, girls tend to perform better across the board. This is on average. So they perform well in history and English and French and Spanish and so on, geography. Whereas boys, they tend to concentrate more in terms of success in the maths and in the sciences. So what it means is you have an overrepresentation of boys in the maths and the sciences, and the girls, you have a representation that is more evenly spread throughout the various different subjects. But
Right.
the thing is that, like, that's just the way that it is. Like, that's okay. My point is that if you address the cultural issues and the girls don't choose it, is because of preference. I never said they didn't have the ability to do it, People like to misquote me on that and say that I said they couldn't do it. That's not true. I said they didn't want to do it. And if they don't want to do it, then I don't think they should be forced to do it.
Right. And I have a commenter here, and she asked me to share these, so I'm going to share these with you. Sana, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, says, can you let her know this? I was at a good secondary school in the early aughts. I was surprised when most of the other girls dropped maths at A level, despite being top set. I asked why, and someone said because maths is hard, and most everyone in the group nodded. And then she said, secondary school with a large rural catchment area and good behavior for the most part. They wanted to do English and psychology because they could get an A easier, have more time to concentrate on other hard subjects, biology and chemistry, and they knew they didn't need maths for the uni courses they were looking at. So she wanted me to share that with you. And I mean, to me, that sounds like it supports what you're saying. It also, I am not a headmistress and I didn't teach in the classroom for very long, but I do have 3 female children. And it comports with what I've seen. 2 of my 3 are actually excellent math students. There's no problem with them in math in terms of, oh, it's too hard. They simply don't really want to pursue it higher than a certain level.
Exactly. And so the point is, I said in my interview that they don't want to pursue the hard maths. I said biology is just as hard, but people didn't hear me say that. But I said that. I said biology is just as hard. I said they don't want to do the hard maths. The easier maths that comes at GCSE, they're quite happy to do. But when it just gets to that next level, they go, you know what? I'd rather do hard biology instead. I don't understand what the problem is. Like, that's just their preference. I mean,
well, and who's doing the stereotyping?
Well, I don't think I'm dumb, but I don't like math, to be honest. I don't like math hard or easy, right? I don't like any kind of math. That doesn't mean I'm dumb. And, I actually think that this speaks to a much deeper point, which is that we as women, but also as men, only respect what men do. So if men do the maths, therefore, in order for us to be admired, we have to do the maths too. And if we choose not to do the maths, then somehow we're letting the side down. And I don't think that's right. I don't like hard maths. I don't like easy maths. I don't think I'm stupid. I think I'm really good at what I do. And actually, I think what I do can often be a lot harder than the maths that those guys are doing. but the thing is, we as women we only really believe in ourselves if we're doing what the men are doing. And that's wrong. And I think that's one of the reasons why housewives, mothers are so criticized or condescended to, because they look at you and they say, well, you're just a mom, aren't you? In fact, I think it's one of the reasons why my profession, teaching, is so derided, because it's historically been a woman's career. And therefore, we don't respect it in society. Both men and women don't respect it. And similarly, same thing with motherhood. When we all know that motherhood is the most difficult thing ever. And teaching, my God, it's so hard. But the fact is that we don't admire these things because they are historically female activities. And then we get very angry when somebody says we've not chosen to do what the men do. But that speaks to a deep misogyny, I think, within our society.
Well, women are not defective men. And the problem is that I think so much of what people talk about now about equity is really about matching some kind of cosmetic standard based on, as you said, evaluating yourself against whatever it is it's perceived opposite. And it's not really about opening doors and removing obstacles to just being your best individual self. So it used to be, I thought, that feminism was about opening doors that had previously been closed, removing arbitrary obstacles that had previously been in place, and letting women have the full range of choices, including being a stay-at-home mother or whatever, without being denigrated. So if I don't want to be a mom, that's fine. If I do want to be a mom, that's fine. Instead, as you said, it's almost like, no, I need to prove I can be a better man than a man. And a man is still the standard. So the people ironically pushing the patriarchy and the notion that this is the standard were these, I think, fourth wave feminists. And then they're surprised when the best feminist of all is a man dressed as a woman. I mean, I'm sorry, I have to say it. because you're trying to be a pretend man instead of just being whatever woman you feel like being.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That we women should feel powerful enough and you know, confident enough to be able to stand up and say, I'm doing what I'm doing and I prefer doing it and what I'm doing is super hard. And we just don't have that yet. I hope one day we'll get there, but we're not there yet.